Radu.
Hi, Chitra aunty. Thank you so much.
Waiting to hear your speech.
Thank you so much.
Appa and Amma, can you mute your audio and video? Appa?
Appa.
S.R. Krishnamurthy? Dr. S.R. Krishnamurthy?
S.R. Krishnamurthy is...
Kindly switch off your video, mute your audio, please.
I think we can get started now. Appa, can we get started? Okay, I think we can get started.
Okay. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru. உடுமலை ஸ்ரீ ராமகிருஷ்ண பஜன சபாவின் 74வது ஆடி மாச உபன்யாச மகோத்சவத்திற்கு அனைவரையும் வரவேற்பதில் பெருமகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். On behalf of Udumalai Sri Ramakrishna Bhajana Sabha, we extend a warm welcome to one and all gathered here through Zoom and YouTube platforms. Sri Ramakrishna Bhajana Sabha was started in the year 1948 by Bhakti Ratna Sri V. Srinivasan Iyengar. This institution has patronized and arranged numerous upanyasams, nama sankirtanams, and various spiritual programs in Udumalpet. Today is the 4th day of this year's annual celebration, which concludes tomorrow. Our festival began with the insightful lectures by none other than Ubaya Vedanta Velukudi Krishnan Swami on August 6th, 7th, and 8th. This evening, we have a talk by Srimati Radhika Kasturi on the topic Dhruva Charitram. It's my pleasure to introduce the speaker to you all. Srimati Radhika Kasturi is into IT audit management by profession. She has taken Varanyasam, that is spiritual initiation, Diksha, from His Holiness Shrivan Shatagopa Shri Ranganatha Yatindra Mahadeshikan, who is the 46th Argya singer of Shri Ahobilamat. She has been formally trained in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Isopanishad, and other scriptures in a structured form. She is a Bhakti Shastri degree holder, certified by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. She has studied the commentaries of both Sri Vaishnava and Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas in detail. She has experience in rendering upanyasams in English to a varied audience, including adults, children, and youth. She has given lectures from Vedic literatures for audience from various locations across USA and India. Before we proceed with the lecture, a small announcement. Let us all mute our audio and video. We shall get to have an opportunity to unmute them all at the end of the session. Thanks to all the participants for joining in. Over to Srimati Radhika Kasturi on the lecture Dhruva Charitram. Namaste.
Thank you, Chitra, for that kind introduction. I very much appreciate your introduction, and thank you so much. I'm just so insignificant, and I seek all your blessings here before I get started. So let me go with the Dhanins first. Ramanuja Dayapatram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathariam Vande Vedanta Desikam Lakshminatha Samarambam Nadayamunamatyamam Asmatacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yo Nityam Achyuta Padambuja Yugma Rukma Vyamoha Staritarani Trinaya Mene Asmat Guru Bhagavadosya Dayeka Sando Ramanujasya Sharanam Sharanam Prabhatye Mada Pita Yuvataya Stanaya Vibhuti Sarvam Yadeva Niyamena Madanvayanam Atyasana Kulapater Vagulabi Ramam Srimat Tatangri Ugalam Pranamami Mutna Bhudam Sarasa Mahadag Vayapatanada Sri Bhakti Sara Kulashekara Yogi Vahan Bhaktan Grihenum Parakala Yatindriya Mishram Srimad Parankusha Munim Pranadosmi Nityam Shri Krishna Bhakta Variantam Srimad Bhagavata Priyam Shri Krishna Preme Mitram Cha Shri Sinivacharyam Ashraye Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashaita Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Shrinuvata Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Kritayantasto hi abhadrani Vidunoti Suhrit Sadam Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So that was the Dhanins. And now let me get started with the lecture. So before I start my lecture on Dhruva Charitram, I want to express my gratitude to certain set of people. So first, I want to express my gratitude to Periyappa, Appa, and Ramakrishna Bhajan Sabha for allowing me to talk on this topic of Dhruva Charitram. And thanks to all the relatives and friends who had called me to express their happiness and inspired me to speak on this topic. And I want to express my gratitude to each and every one of them. So we all know in this Ramakrishna Bhajana Sabha, we've had many exalted speakers like Krishna Premi Anna, Velkudi Swamigal, Vishaka Hariji, Dushyant Anna, etc. They have spoken in this forum, and I'm so feeling privileged and honored and blessed. And at the same time, I feel insignificant in front of them. Still, I want to make use of this opportunity to serve all of you all in a very small way. I cherish my younger days with Tata and Paati, and they took care of me so affectionately with love and devotion. Till date, I cherish the fact that Tata has named me Radhika, and I feel so connected to this name. Thank you, Tata, for giving me this name, and I feel again blessed to have received this name from you. So many exalted speakers and Vaishnavas have come to Madhura Nivas, and they have rendered Harikatha and Harikirtan. And I definitely feel again blessed to be a part of such a family of devotees. Tata has spent his entire life propagating Harikatha, Harikirtan, publishing books, and dedicating his life to serve the community of devotees. I want to follow in his footsteps and contribute to the society in my own way. Therefore, I seek the blessings of all of your devotees assembled here so I can deliver the best. Last but not the least, again, I want to thank my family, Appa, Amma, my husband Seshadri, mother-in-law, and the kids for supporting me in this endeavor. Without them, I don't think I would be able to deliver this presentation or deliver any sort of Upaneyanam for that matter. So thank you, family, for being there for me and supporting me through all this. So I really, really appreciate it, and I acknowledge it. I really acknowledge it also. So now let's get started with today's talk. All right, so pastimes are all there for us to learn lessons. A devotee, he sees the pastimes as it acts as instruments so that we can derive lessons through those pastimes. So this is the mood of a devotee. Those participating in the pastimes, they are all devotees of the Lord, and they are all enacting this pastime so that it would enable us to learn some lessons from them. Here I would like to quote from Kuratalwar. Kuratalwar, he was a disciple of Ramanujacharya, and he has written a short poem called Attatrana Prayana Shostram. And he says, God is the sole refuge and savior and support, and 6 instances are there to prove this beyond doubt. He says there are 6 ways that the Lord has shown mercy and quotes 6 different examples. So, Vatsalyat, Abhaya Pranada Samayat, Artharti Nirvapanat, Audharyat, Agasoshanat, Aganita Shreya Pada Prapannat. So let's understand what this means. There are 6 different people that Lord has shown mercy to. Again, obviously, he has shown mercy to a lot of them. But Kuratalwar, he is quoting 6 here. Vatsalyat, he has shown motherly affection in the form of Narasimha to Prahlad. Abhaya Pradana Samayat, in the sense he has provided reassurance in his form as Rama, and he has shown affection to Vibhishana when he gave up everything for his family in order to surrender to Lord Ram. He talks about the comfort that the Lord provided for Gajendra when he was actually suffering in pain from the crocodile bite. You all know the story of Gajendra, right? Where the crocodile was trying to pull Gajendra, and Lord actually came there for his rescue. Audharyat, this is a special type of love and affection that Krishna has shown towards Draupadi. And he has shown the special type of mercy where he has protected her from humiliation in the court of Duryodhana. Agasoshanat, this is the mercy Lord Ram has shown towards Ahalya when he turned her back from stone to a human form. So this is a very nice quote. And from this, what we are going to see is, we are going to see Dhruva Charitra, where he has shown mercy to Dhruva Maharaj, and how he has actually shown mercy is something that we will be seeing in today's lecture. So what we will be doing is, I have structured this presentation in such a way that we will have a Sanskrit verse, English meaning to the verse, and what are the lessons learned from the verse. So this is going to be the structure of today's Upanayanam. Again, Srimad Bhagavatam is an Amala Puran. It's a transcendental literature. It is the literature that people of Kali Yuga have to take shelter of. And I'm very glad to be speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the topic of Dhruva Charitram. And Dhruva Charitram is a conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. So that is how it goes. So let's get started with the Charitram. So first, let's talk about the dynasty. Let me describe the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu. Manu has 2 sons. One of them is Priyavrata, another one is Uttanapada. And Uttanapada, I'll be talking about some specific names here. Maybe you can make a note of these names so that you will understand how the story rolls about and how the story flows. So first one, Manu has 2 sons. One of them is Priyavrata, another one is Uttanapada. In today's class, we will be discussing about Uttanapada's dynasty. And Uttanapada, he has two wives. So we will be seeing about one of the wife's son, Dhruva. Okay, let's get into the story. Jaye Uttanapadasya Suniti Surichistayoho Surichi Preyasi Patyur Netarayat Suto Dhruvaha. King Uttanapada, he had 2 queens named Suniti and Suruchi. Jaye Uttanapadasya Suniti Surichihi. Of the 2, Suruchi was dear to the king. Tato Suruchi Preyasi Patyoho. Suruchi had a son named Dhruva, and he was not dear to the king, Uttanapada. So this is the scenario so far. So we have seen that Uttanapada is having 2 sons and 2 queens. 2 queens, namely Suniti and Suruchi, and Suniti's son is Dhruva, and then we have Suruchi's son He's called Uttama, which will be seen in the later verses. Ekata Suruche Putram Ankam Aropya Lalayan Uttamam Naru Rukshantam Dhruvam Rajabhyanandata. Once, Ekata, when King Uttanapada was placing the son of Suruchi, that is Uttama, on his lap, and he was patting Uttama like this. And he did not acknowledge Dhruva. Dhruva was also going to climb on his father's lap, Rukshantam. He also wanted to sit on his father's lap. It is a natural tendency of the child to go and sit on his father's lap. Likewise, here we see Dhruva also wanted to sit on the lap of Uttanapada. Tata chikeshamanam tam sapatnyastanayam dhruvam suruchi shrinvato rajnya seshyam agati garvitaha. Suruchi was very proud. Ati garvita, spoke with spite to the child Dhruva, who is the son of Suniti, trying to climb on his father's lap. Tata chikeshamanam, while the king was able to hear. So Suruchi was going to talk something in front of the king Uttanapada while he was able to hear. What did she speak? What did she tell Dhruva? That is something we will be seeing now. So let's understand the scenario so far and try to derive some lessons. Okay. So now we see that Uttanapada was quite neglectful towards Dhruva Maharaj. A king is supposed to treat all his citizens equally, right? That is something the king must do. And a father, he is supposed to treat all his children equally. Uttanapada was a great king. I mean, Uttanapada, if you look at him here, he was not being great as a king or as a father. He could not fulfill the responsibilities of both a king and a father. Because why? He was overly attached to Suruchi. So when somebody has undue material attachment, either to wife or some material possession or wealth for that matter, what happens is they become partial. They become neglectful towards noble people. So that is the case we are seeing with Uttanapada. Uttanapada, he was a great devotee of the Lord, but at this current stage of life, he is overly attached to Suruchi, because of which he was neglectful towards his other wife Suniti and her son Dhruva. So imagine this scenario, okay? Dhruva Maharaj is making a humble and an innocent attempt to climb on his father's lap. And his father, he was not at all welcoming him. He was being so neglectful. And in this context, Suruchi, she was sitting next to Uttanapada, started speaking very harshly to this little boy. So how are elders supposed to behave? Elders are supposed to be very diligent and careful in their behavior, especially in front of small children. So children learn by observing what the elders actually do. If the elders don't behave properly, or if the elders become angry or envious, or if they are showing some bad behavior, then the children actually imbibe that behavior, right? Here we see Dhruva, he wanted to sit on father's lap, and that is a natural desire for a child. Any child would do that. They would just go and hug their dad. They want to embrace him. They want to kiss him. They want to sit on the father's lap. This is all very natural for a child. But here, Suruchi, she was chastising Dhruva. Suruchi started to speak very harshly to Dhruva. So in the next section, we will actually be seeing what Suruchi spoke to Dhruva. So this is a very interesting section. The first section was what Dhruva wanted to do with his father. The second section is going to talk about what are the interactions with Suruchi and Dhruva. What is Suruchi going to say to Dhruva? Navatsa nirpate dishnyam bhavanarodumarhati na grihito maya yatvam kukshau api nripatmajaha. My child, Vatsa, you don't deserve to sit on the lap of the king. Na nripate dishnyam arodumarhati. Why? Because although you are also the king's son, of course, you are also Uttanapada's son. But one problem is there. What is that one problem? You did not take birth from my womb. That is the problem. So we need to fix that, right? That is Suruchi's comment to Dhruva. She said, my dear boy, you're not supposed to sit on your father's lap. Yes, I know Uttama is the son of Uttanapada.
You're also the son of Uttanapada. But just being the son of your father is not a sufficient qualification for you to sit on his lap. You should become my son also. You should actually become my son. Only if you become my son, you will be qualified to sit on your father's lap. Otherwise, you cannot. Right now, you are not my son. So you're not qualified to sit on your father's lap. This is your situation, Dhruva. She's making a 5-year-old understand these things. She's talking about all big things to a 5-year-old boy. Balosi batanatmanam anyasri garbha sampritam nunam vedam bhavanyasya durlabhe arte manoratah. You are a child, balahasi. Therefore, Bhavan, having a desire for the impossible, which is durlabhe, you cannot do the impossible. You do not know that you are born from the womb of another woman. That is Suniti. You do not know that. That is why you are doing this act. So she's talking about Suniti, that he was born to the womb of another woman means here she's indirectly saying that she's born to Suniti. He is born to Suniti. Atmanam anyastri garbha sampritam. That is the meaning for that. So because you're a child, you're having a desire for the impossible. That's because you're a 5-year-old boy, you have such a desire. And you do not know that you are born to another woman. So here, we must understand that Dhruva is having an innocence of a child. Innocence, right? The child shows innocence. And Dhruva, little childhood innocence of Dhruva, did not see the difference between his mother Suniti and stepmother Suruchi. He was just considering everybody to be on the same platform. But the arrogance, envy, and anger of the Suruchi showed him the difference. Oh, they both are different. Suruchi is different, Suniti is different, even though both are mothers. One is a stepmother, another is a mother. So Suruchi said, you're not my son. You're not qualified to sit on your father's lap. You have to actually become my son. And this was very harsh for the small child. Very harsh. It was really, he didn't understand what was going on. You know, such an innocent boy, 5-year-old boy, but a lot of harsh things are spoken to him. And we will see further what Suruchi has to say. Tapasaradhya purusham tasvaivanugrahena me garbhe tvam sadayatmanam yedichyasi nripasanam. So, Dhruva, what you should do is, you should worship the Lord by performing austerities. Tapasa purusham aradhya. You should do some austerities, Dhruva. You should do some tapasya. And by his mercy, whose mercy? Lord Vishnu's mercy. You have to then come to my womb. Place yourself in my womb if you want to sit on your father's lap. This is what you should do, Dhruva. This is something that I can tell that you should do. So, tapasaradhya purusham tasvaivanugrahena me garbhe tvam sadayatmanam yedichyasi nripasanam. So he is asking Dhruva to perform some austerities for what? For Dhruva to actually come to her womb, so that Dhruva then can sit on his father's lap. This is what I propose to you, Dhruva. So if you still want to sit on the king's lap, then worship the Lord by doing tapasya. And by this, what happens? You can place yourself in my womb. Okay, what are the lessons learned here? Actually, if you look at it, Suruchi's envy was towards who? Suniti. Suniti is a direct, she has envy directly towards her co-wife Suniti. When we are envious of somebody, that envy on our misbehavior towards not only those people, right? Not only those people, but whoever is connected to those people, we are obviously envious of all of them. So our envy is not restricted to one person, but our envy is directed towards all those people who are connected to the person whom we are envious of. That is what is the situation of Suruchi here. Here, Suruchi was envious of who? Suniti. And Suruchi was envious and angry towards Dhruva also. Because why? Because Dhruva was the son of Suniti. So she said with great pride and anger and arrogance that you are not my son. You are not supposed to sit on your father's lap. This is something wrong on your part, Dhruva. You can't do this. So we understand how envy works, right? It is just not one person we are envious of, but we tend to become envious of a whole lot of people as a result of being envious towards one person. So this is a very important point, dear devotees. We should definitely make a note of it. And so she spoke to Dhruva in a very harsh manner. She chastised Dhruva. You're not qualified to sit on your father's lap. And if at all you want to sit on your father's lap, you should become my son. How can you become my son? You worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu, then you can actually become my son. Otherwise, you cannot become my son. Indirectly, out of arrogance, what is Suruchi trying to say to Dhruva? She's saying, Dhruva, you die. This life, you better die. You're not fortunate enough. Vishnu will give some benediction to take birth in my womb, and then you can sit in your father's lap. Very, very harsh, because she wants Dhruva to die. And that is how he can actually take birth and come back by praying to Lord Vishnu. He can then take birth in the womb of Suruchi. So here we can see the arrogant nature of Suruchi. And we have to note that Suruchi also understands that Uttanapada loves her. So whenever we are little dear to a senior person or a superior person or a celebrity or a husband or whoever is dear, that that dear feeling actually induces some pride within us. So here Uttanapada entertains Suruchi to such a degree that she can behave in whatever way she wants in front of him. She knows that Uttanapada loves me. I can do whatever I want in front of Uttanapada, and that was Suruchi's attitude. Right? Did you get the point? Where we are seeing a scenario where Suruchi understands that Uttanapada loves her so much, so whatever she has to do, she can just do it in front of him. Let him also hear what I'm talking to Dhruva. No problem. This is Suruchi's from Suruchi's side. So what are the lessons learned here? I'm close to this very great person. And here, the other people who are not close to this great person, I'm only close to this person. See how nice of me. See, I'm very, very close to this particular celebrity or particular big guy or even my husband for that matter. And I abuse that. I take it to my advantage. Our closeness to the people, to other people or great people, it should not make us look down upon others who are little inferior to us in whatever ways. So that is the important learning from this particular episode of the pastime. So we can also understand this through the Bhagavad Gita verses. Let's understand what Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So if you look at the chapter 16, verse number 4, Dambo darpo bhimanasya krodha parushyameva cha Ajnanam chapi jatasya partha sampadamasurim. Krishna says, arrogance, pride, conceit, harshness, ignorance, all these are qualities that belong to people of demoniac nature. O son of Pritha, these are the results of one's demoniac mentality. So speaking very harshly, angrily, enviously, arrogantly towards other people, it is a demoniac quality. And it's a treasure for who? It is a treasure for the demons, not the divine. So here, Suruchi is actually exhibiting the demoniac qualities of exhibiting the harsh speech and envy. So Krishna, he also comments in Bhagavad Gita about how we have to actually speak. That is quoted from chapter 17, verse number 10. Anudvekakaram vakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyayam vyasanam chaiva vanmayan tapa uchyate. Our speech, how is it supposed to be? Our speech should be in such a way that other people, they should not get disturbed or agitated by our speech. One should speak in such a way that our speech must be truthful. But we should also have the vigilance to communicate the truth in a pleasing way, not in a harsh manner. Even if it is truth, it has to be communicated in a pleasing way so that people may be able to accept it. So one should be pleasant enough. And this can be done only when the person loves another person. right? We can talk in a pleasing way only if we are able to love another person. If I am a well-wisher of another person, then I can speak the truth to him in a very pleasant manner, in a way he can accept. See, we are even conveying some bad news for that matter. How is that supposed to be told? You should give him a warning. Say, I'm going to give you some news. Don't become agitated or tensed. And here's the news I'm presenting you. And after that, you also have to understand, okay, is it the right time to tell this person this news? Is it okay? Is it fine? All that must be, thought through, and then we have to communicate a message. So this is what Krishna wants us to do from Bhagavad Gita. How should the speech should be? The speech should be in such a way that we should never agitate anybody. We should not disturb anybody through our speech. It has to be spoken in a pleasing manner. You should talk the truth, and that truth also has to be communicated in a very pleasing way. And this is done. This can be done only when the person has love towards another person. If the person doesn't like, he will not care for the other person's feelings, right? We will just speak however we want. So this is the mood that Krishna wants us to imbibe. And now let's go turn our camera towards Uttanapada and see what is the perspective from Uttanapada. How is he looking at it? How is the whole scene from his perspective? Uttanapada, we all know, although he was a great king and a father, he could not treat Dhruva properly. And you see, Uttanapada was not noticing, he was noticing Suruchi, and he was noticing that Suruchi was unnecessarily becoming harsh with Dhruva, and she was chastising Dhruva. That means she was scolding Dhruva. But Uttanapada did not make any attempts to stop her. He didn't say, oh, Suruchi, please stop, don't do such harsh things to Dhruva. Don't speak to him, he's just a poor small boy. He didn't do any such things, right? Did he do that? No. When we are seeing some bad behavior in front of our eyes, and say for that matter, if we see somebody not doing the right thing, although we are able to stop it, here in the situation, Uttanapada, although he could have stopped it, he indirectly approved this misbehavior of Suruchi. He said, okay, no problem, let her to speak. Uttanapada had the ability to stop the misbehavior of Suruchi, but he allowed her to speak. So he did not welcome Dhruva Maharaj in the first place, right? Secondly, what did he do? He did not stop Suruchi to speak in front of Dhruva in such a harsh way. So it's such a hurting manner. So he was disappointing Dhruva very much, and Dhruva became hurt by this fact. He wanted to show his love towards his father, and in turn, he's not getting the love back. What a kind of feeling it is, right? When we try to go and hug our loved ones, and if the loved ones doesn't even recognize you, doesn't even allow you to, express your love, how would you feel? And that was the feeling that Dhruva was going through. Small boy Dhruva. But let's understand more from this chapter and see what this chapter entails. And all the commentaries are here provided by our Acharya Srila Prabhupada of the ISKCON movement. I wanted to acknowledge and thank all the Acharyas whose commentaries we are trying to relish during this time. I know I forgot to say this in the beginning, but I wanted to acknowledge that. Okay, let's move on. Maitreya Uvacha Matu Sapatnya Sadurupti Viddaha Swashan Prushadhanta Hato Yatahihi Hitva Mishantam Pitaram Sannavacham Jagama Matu Prarudan Sakasham. As I told you, this conversation is between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. And Vidura is speaking now. What is Vidura saying? Pierced by the harsh words of mother's co-wife, which is Suruchi's harsh words. Matu sapatnya sadurupti viddaha. Breathing heavily in anger, swashan rusha, like a snake stuck by a stick. Yatha danda hato atihi. He left the silent father. Hita sanna vacham pitaram. He left a silent father who was watching and went to his mother while weeping. He was crying profusely. Jagama matu sakasham praruddan. So let's understand this verse in depth. He was actually compared to a snake, which when a snake gets stamped by someone, if you try to step on a snake, what happens? The snake becomes angry. Likewise, Dhruva, he is also becoming angry. He is a Kshatriya. What is Kshatriya? Kshatriya means warriors. And Kshatriyas, Kshatriyas have a natural tendency of passion and getting anger. They have the fighting spirit, right? Dhruva, he could not take this insulting behavior of his stepmother Suruchi. He became very angry towards his stepmother. But as a child, what can he do? Poor Dhruva, he could not do anything. He was insulted in the public. For Kshatriya, it is a dishonor. He was insulted in front of a lot of people. It is a palace. All the palace residents were there assembled, and all the soldiers were there. All the servant maids were there. And Uttanapada was completely neglecting Dhruva. And Dhruva was so pained at heart. And so because of that reason, he just left the palace. And Uttanapada, he did not speak anything that caused Dhruva's pain even more. See, a father is watching. He's supposed to show some love towards him or by saying something. Oh, mother, just keep quiet. Suruchi, just don't talk such harsh words to Dhruva. Dhruva is a small child. Don't do that things to him. He did not open his mouth at all. That actually caused Dhruva's pain more. And then Dhruva left the scene. He was crying profusely. Where will he go now? Where will he go? He has to go to his mother Suniti. So he went to Mother Suniti, who was the shelter for Dhruva. Dhruva Maharaj, he just cried, and while crying to his mother, while crying profusely, shedding tears in his eyes, he actually went into his mother's room. Amma, Amma, where are you? Like that he called out. Meanwhile, all the palace residents and the servant maids, they went to Suniti. They told her about the situation. Hey, what happened was Dhruva, he was actually chastised by Suruchi, and Uttanapada, you did not know. He did not even speak anything back to Suruchi. So this is the position. And Dhruva is pained for that reason. One reason is because Mother Suruchi, she actually chastised Dhruva. And on top of it, we have Uttanapada. He did not speak anything in turn to Suruchi to ask her to not speak to Dhruva in a harsh way. So these are the two reasons why Dhruva is upset. So Dhruva was very pained. He came crying to his mother. So this news already reached Mother Suniti. And let's now see what Mother Suniti and Dhruva's conversation are, and understand more from that pastime and relish the lessons learned also. Tam nishvashantam spuritadharoshtam sunitirutsanga udukhya balam nishamya tatpaura mukam nitantam savivyate yad gatitam sapatnya. Suniti, she looked at her son, Suniti udukhya balam. So he was actually breathing heavily and his lips was trembling, Spuritadharoshtam, and onto her lap, and hearing from the citizens what had happened, Suniti, she actually felt the pain at the words of her co-wife Suruchi. So this is the situation of Suniti. She was also very much pained and very much broken at heart, and she was lamenting for Dhruva. So this is what is the scenario so far. Sotsrijya dairyam vilalapasoka dhavagnina dhavalateva bala vakyam sapatnya smarati saroja shriya drishabhaspakhalam vuaha. What does this sloka say to us? Like a forest creeper burned by the fire of lamentation, this woman, remembering the words of her co-wife Suruchi, she lost her self-control. Vilalapa, she began to lament, shedding tears from her lotus eyes. So Suniti started to shed her tears from her lotus eyes, and she spoke to Dhruva. So this is a very important conversation. What is Suniti going to speak to Dhruva? What are her instructions to Dhruva? And how is she going to convince, or what is she going to Dhruva is something that we are going to see now. So now we here see that Suniti is a glorious lady. She was a great devotee of Vishnu. And Suniti embraced Dhruva, like how a mother would do. What will a mother do? A mother will embrace a child. And seeing that Dhruva was very angry and his heart was filled with negativity towards his stepmother Suruchi, the little, he also felt the neglect of his father. This mother, Suniti, she actually became very painful. She has now lot of pain in her heart. And her situation is compared to Davagnina Dhavala Lateva Bala. Dhavagni means forest fires. Nobody sets fire in a forest. It just has to come down on its own. Dhavagnina Dhavala Lateva Bala. So we can't do anything. If a creeper is there, what is the situation of a tender creeper in a forest fire? A small creeper, it will not be able to handle that much fire, right? It's a forest fire, huge forest fire. And a small creeper, what will the small creeper be able to do? It will be destroyed. It will be tormented by heat. And this was the situation of Mother Suniti. Can you all understand and get the relevance of how a creeper is actually compared to the Suniti? So small creeper, it can't do anything in the forest fire. Likewise, Suniti, she's not able to do anything. She has no power whatsoever. And that is what is communicated here. What is Suniti saying to Dhruva? Dirgam swashanti vrijinasya param mapasyati bhalakamaha bala mamangalam tata pareshu mamsta bhunte janoyat paradukkadhastat. Breathing heavily, dirgham swashanti, not seeing the end of her suffering. Vrijinasya param apasyati. She said to her son, Balakam mahabala, O son, tata, you do not find fault with others. Pareshu mamangalam mamsta. Because why shouldn't you find fault with others? Previously, you have received the same in this life. Tat bhunte. Let's more so try to understand what this verse conveys. It's a very important lesson that we can learn, because here Suniti's instruction to Dhruva are so profound that everybody can apply this to our everyday lives. So let's understand why we should not criticize others and what is the reason for that. I'll just go through one more verse and then we will come back to this verse. Satyam suruchya bihitam bhavan me yadurpagaya udare grihitah tanyena vidrascha vilajyate yam paryeti vavodum idaspatirmam. So Mother Suniti is saying here, what Suruchi said is true. Suruchya bihitam satyam. It is true. What Suruchi said is true. Because you have been held in my womb. Yad bhavan me udare grihitah. An unfortunate person like me, durbhagya. And we have grown up, and you have grown up drinking my breast milk. And but the king, he is ashamed to accept me as his wife. Bharyeti iti. Not even, just leave alone the wife. He's not even accepting me as a servant. That is my situation. Can you understand my situation, Dhruva? I am not even treated as, see, I'm ashamed. The king Uttanapata is ashamed to treat me as his wife, and not only just leave the wife matter. I'm not even treated as a servant. So that is my position. And you are born to me, Durbhagaya. An unfortunate person like me, you are born to me. So that is the problem. And what Suruchi said is true. There is no lie. There is whatever she said is true. Suniti was already feeling, as you can see from this particular verse, Suniti is already having pain that her husband is neglecting her. And the mistreatment of a co-wife is another thing. And now the pain went to her son also. And seeing this, son started to cry profusely. Mother Suniti, she advised Dhruva and said 3 things to him. What are the 3 things Mother Suniti actually said to Dhruva? Let's understand that. You should never feel envious or hatred towards others, even if they cause some pain to you. If some people, they may do some act out of ignorance. And for that reason, you should not become envy or develop that attitude of hatred, even if they cause harm to you. So seeing Dhruva was overwhelmed with envy, hatred, and anger, at this stage, she did not want her son Dhruva to have negative feelings or negativity to enter into the heart of Dhruva. She immediately wanted to remove that negativity from the heart of Dhruva. So the first thing she spoke was, never feel envy towards anybody. Even if they caused harm to you in some way, you must have hurt them in some way. Okay, even so, she says, don't feel hatred towards people who has caused you harm in some way. The second thing she's saying, whatever negative experience that a person is going through is because of our own misdeeds. It is because of misbehavior at some earlier point in time. We would have committed some misbehavior because of which we are reaping the results for our own action now. So here, very important point to note. She was not saying that Suruchi, who insulted you, she will reap the consequences of her action tomorrow. That is not what she intends to say. That was not the meaning. She said, we are all being neglected by Uttanapada or Suruchi. So that is the result of our own past misdeeds. So we have to experience this. Considering that we are only responsible for our pain to ourselves. Nobody else is. Nobody. We may say he's the cause. Oh, he's the cause. He did this. He did that. He. Nothing. It is your karma. Karma is a complex concept. And everybody has to understand that if you are going to do something bad to others, you are going to get that in some form or fashion at a later point in time. So here, Suniti is teaching a wonderful lesson to Dhruva. This is what she's saying. So see, she says two important things that we can all apply. Never feel hatred towards anybody, even if they cause harm to you. You must have hurted them in some way. So don't worry about it. Second thing is, she says, whatever negative experience that you're going through in your life, this is due to your own karma. So do not blame the circumstance or anybody for that matter. It is the result of our own actions that we have committed in the past. We are going through this scenario. So take it that way, Dhruva. This is how you should take this. Okay, so it's a important learning. The first thing she said is never be envious or hatred. Second thing, understand whatever you're going through in this life is a result of one's misdeeds, one's past misdeeds. And the third thing is, whatever she said is very profound. You wanted to sit on your father's lap, right, Dhruva? So whether it is a desire, this desire or any desire, what you should do, you should take shelter of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord Vishnu is whom you have to go. If you have some desire that you need to be fulfilled, where should you go? You should go and take shelter of Krishna or Vishnu, and because of their mercy, you will be able to get your desires fulfilled. This is what I want you to do, Dhruva. Let's go on to the further verses. Atishta tattata vimastaraswam muktam samatrapi yadavyalikam aradhayodokshajapada padmam yadichyasedyasanam muttamo yata. If you have the desire to be seated like your brother, then without envy of Suruchi, underline without envy of Suruchi, execute the true words uttered by her. What are the true words that is uttered by her? Worship the lotus feet of the Lord. This is what you should do. Aradhaya dokshajapada padmam. So the words of Suruchi was unpalatable. Her instructions to worship the Lord was very much palatable. So this is a very good thing she said, right? Suruchi, she said a good thing. Whatever she said, she spoke harsh, but in that there is something good. You can always find good in a person. My dad always says this, just look at the good in others. If you look at our Sri Ranga Perumal, he closes his eyes. He never sees bad of anybody. That is the mentality of God. So we must always try to magnify the good qualities that other people have. Everybody has faults, and everybody, they will all try to work in their own way to reform the faults they have. But they also have good in them, right? Let's magnify the good and then forget about the bad. How nice and pleasant it will be for your life also if you do that, instead of developing that anger, hatred, envy. If you cultivate this good habit of seeing positivity in people, then our lives will become brighter. So by worshipping the Supreme Lord, she says, Dhruva, Suniti is saying this to Dhruva. She's saying there is a lot of things that had happened. What happens? By worshipping the Supreme Lord, only Brahma, your great grandfather, he has attained his supreme position. And Swayambhu Manu, your grandfather, he also attained happiness on earth in heaven, and later he achieved liberation. Yeshangri Padmam Paricharya Vishwa Vibhavanayata Gunapi Patehe. Ajotya Tishtat Khaluparameshtyam Padam Jitatma Swashanabhi Vatyam. So this is what your grandfathers have achieved. Your grandfathers have achieved all great positions, supreme position, because of worshipping the Supreme Lord. And Swayambhu Manu, he also achieved liberation because of worshipping the Supreme Lord Vishnu. So you must following their footsteps. So now Dhruva, my question, how to worship? Amma, you told me I have to worship the Supreme Lord, but how should I worship? Can you please tell me more on that? So she's explaining, worship the Supreme Lord by fixing your mind purified by bhakti and with attachment to nothing else. This is how you need to worship. Tameva vatsashraya bhritya vatsalam mumukshibir mrigya padabja patatim ananya bhave nija dharma bhavite manasya vyastapya bhajasva purusham. Oh child, Vatsa, take shelter of the Lord. He is very affectionate to his servant. You know, Lord is so affectionate to his servants. Bhritya vatsalam. And you should follow the footsteps that are aspired for liberation. And see, the Supreme Lord, he is aspired by those people who are seeking liberation. So worship that Lord, fix your mind on him through bhakti, and with attachment to nothing else, just worship, constantly thinking about him. Then you'll be able to get your desires fulfilled. He's so nice and affectionate to his servants. Bhritya vatsalam. So this is what the people who are aspiring for liberation also do. So this is the path you must also follow. Oh, my dear Dhruva, worship him, perform bhakti onto him. If you perform bhakti onto Vishnu, then he can fulfill all your desires. Then Suniti said to Dhruva, I'm just one mother. See, look at me, I'm just one mother. But the Lord can give you affection of millions of mothers. So if you should take shelter of Vishnu, you will get the affection of millions of mothers. And this is my advice to you, Dhruva. Just follow my advice. Will you, baby? Like that, she actually asked Dhruva. So now let's look into the lessons learned. So when somebody comes to us with a negative mindset in pain, we should not increase their pain. We should not agitate them. We should not disturb them more. We should just tell them to give up that negativity. Whenever whatever experiences that we receive in our life is as a result of one's karma, right? And then what we should do to help that person is direct him to God. So God is the only person who can be worthy of taking shelter. And anyone who has negativity, negative mindset, they should be directed towards God so that they can get some peace and solace. So far, what we understand is Uttanapada, he could not receive Dhruva, he could not respond to the situation properly. There was a situation that he could have responded properly. He could have acted like a father, or he could have acted like a king, where he could have treated the citizens equally. And here he did not act in a right manner, either as a king or as a father. So Suruchi, she could have responded to the city. She could not respond to the situation properly because she spoke to Dhruva in a harsh way. But what about Mother Suniti? Mother Suniti, she perfectly responded to the citizen. Perfectly responded to the son Dhruva by consoling and pacifying the small child who was affected by insult, neglect, and abuse. So how three people are there and how three people are responding to the situation is something we must note. Okay, let's move on. Nanyam tata padma palashalochana tukkachitam tre mrigayami kanchana yomrikyate hasta grihita padmaya shriya thare ranga vimikramanaya. So here it says, I don't find anyone, na anyam mrigyami, who can extinguish your suffering. Dhruva, nobody else except the lotus-eyed Lord Vishnu can help you extinguish your suffering. This is the meaning for that verse. And this lotus-eyed Lord Vishnu, he is sought after by Lakshmi. He is sought after by everybody, including Brahma and others. That is the speciality of Vishnu. Nanyam tada padma palashalochana. So you should go to that lotus-eyed Lord. That is where you need to do, because he is the only person who can extinguish your suffering, Dhruva. So we could understand from Mother Suniti that if I worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu, then I can attain my desires. That is the main advice Dhruva actually took from Mother Suniti. So Dhruva, without informing anyone, he left the palace. He went to the forest. He was thinking, I will go to the forest and worship Lord Vishnu. I will start to do tapasya to please Vishnu. I want to attain a benediction where I want to sit on a position that even my great grandfather has also not sit in. So that is the position I want to achieve. This is my determination. I want to do it. And like this determination, he left to the forest all alone. He's just a 5-year-old boy. Can you imagine? He just left to the forest because he just took that advice from his mother saying, your desire will be fulfilled if you worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu. And now let's see in the next section. Here Narada Muni comes into play, and Narada Muni is going to try to test Dhruva's determination. So Narada Muni, he's Trikkalagnya. What does Trikkalagnya means? Although Narada Muni, he was not present in the palace of Uttanapada. He did not see what had happened in Uttanapada's place, where Dhruva was insulted. He was not there when Mother Suniti was trying to give advice to Dhruva. But Narada, he was aware of all these things, what was happening in Dhruva Maharaj's life. And Narada Muni, he knew. He voluntarily came to help Dhruva to worship the Supreme Lord. So Dhruva, he was going to the forest, and Narada Muni, he was right there in front of him, like this. He was there. Yes, I'm ready to help you, my dear boy, like that. And Narada Muni, what did he say to Dhruva? My dear little boy, where are you going? What is the purpose of coming out of this great royal palace? Why are you wandering in the forest? You're a great prince, and you're just a small 5-year-old boy. What is the purpose of you leaving home and entering into the forest? My dear boy, can you tell me? Like that, Narada asked Dhruva. And Dhruva said, I have a desire. And Narada asked, what is your desire? I was actually insulted by my stepmother Suruchi, and her harsh words are tormenting my heart. So I desire to sit in a position which is not even accessible to my great grandfather. So I please request you, Narada Muni, to show some honest means so that I can fulfill my desire. Can you please advise me, Narada Muni? My mother advised me. What did she say? She said that I should worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and he will fulfill all my desires. Can I get my desire fulfilled by some honest means? Can you tell me the process by which I can do this? And Narada Muni, he said, he is trying to test the determination of Dhruva Maharaj. He's asking, my dear boy, you're a small child. At this age, you should play, should be attached to a sport. There are so many sports like cricket, hockey, badminton, basketball. So many games are there. You should be playing with other children. A small child, you're not supposed to take honor and dishonor seriously. Okay, a small child, he doesn't even understand the difference between respect and disrespect. So a child may cry for a little while and then he'll come back to normal. Even if you scold a child, he'll cry and then he'll come back to normal. But here is Dhruva, he left home to do what? He left home to do tapasya to Vishnu, like a sage at the age of 5. So Narada Muni said, yes, it is not very practical, Dhruva. You better go home and play. So you should not be pursuing this path at this age. Your mother, she described the path to worship Vishnu, but that path, it's not an easy path. Don't think it is easy. It is a very hard path. And you're just a 5-year-old boy. If at all you're very determined, what I'll ask you to do is, you go back, become a big boy, and then come back. You become a good young man. Then you come back and worship me. So you should not be bothered so much by this insult. Just like a small child, be a small child, go back and play, go to your home. This is what I want you to do. Through this, we can understand how Narada Muni is actually testing Dhruva Maharaj's determination. He wants to see if the Narada was able to convince, will Dhruva go home? Will Dhruva go and enjoy and play and just get back to normal and not worry about the respect and disrespect, honor, dishonor and all that? Or still does he want to continue in this path that was laid out by his mother Suniti? We will see now. So he also teaches one more very, very important lesson. Gunadikan mudam lipset anukrosham gunadamat maitram samanat anvichen na tapera vibhuyate. What did Narada Muni say? Narada Muni said, when we meet in this world three kinds of people. What are the three kinds of people whom we meet? Number one, a person who is better than you, a person who is more qualified than you. Second, we meet people who are inferior to you, less qualified than you. And third, we will meet people who are equally qualified like you. These are the three categories of people. Do you all understand? Do you all agree with me that these are the three kinds of people we meet on an everyday scenario, for that matter? One person is who is superior to you, another person who is inferior to you, and third person, he is equally qualified like you. So how are you supposed to react when you meet a person who's more qualified than you? You're supposed to be happy. You should not be envious of him. And why you should be happy and satisfied? Because you can learn something from that person. This is the reason why you have to be happy and satisfied when you meet a person who is of superior nature to you. Second, if you meet a person who is less qualified or inferior to you in some way, then you should be compassionate to that person. You should be very compassionate. You should try to elevate that person, bring him up to a better standard and not oppress him. Don't do that. Third is people who are equally qualified like us. Instead of becoming envious towards those people, we should make friendship with them. When we deal with people in this manner, what happens? We will not encounter any miseries, right? The misery happens because we try to make our own analysis of people. And that is the reason we make our mind so complex. It's just simple way of dealing with people. Instead of bringing so much complexities into our mind, let's just try to make it simple. So this is the advice that Narada Muni actually gives to Dhruva, and very, very profound advice. And what is Dhruva Maharaj saying in response to Narada? Dhruva Maharaj is saying, no. Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj has said to Narada Muni, whatever you have said, it is all true. These are all suitable to Brahmanas. These teachings of tolerance, adjusting, accommodating, forgiving, these are suitable to Brahmanas. You know, I am a Kshatriya and I am tormented by the harsh words of my stepmother. I am completely determined to worship Lord Vishnu, and I want to attain a position that is superior to even my great-grandfather Brahma also. This is my desire. I don't want to compromise on this thing. If you can instruct me some honest means that I can follow your advice, then I will do that. Please do not change my mind. I have no intentions of changing my mind. See, he also says, you are a son of Brahma. Narada Muni, you are a son of Brahma. You are capable of fulfilling my desire. And I also know you travel, carrying your Veena, you travel all around the world and benefit everybody in the world. So please advise me, Narada Muni, since you are an expert in this area. Okay, this is so far what had happened. Now, Narada Muni, he understands that Dhruva did not listen to his advice. And Narada Muni, he found that Dhruva actually neglected his instruction, but he neglected my instruction, so I'm not going to give any further instruction to him. That was not his mentality. He immediately said, okay, let me present my advice to follow through your desire. Just hear me carefully. This is what Narada Muni said. Tattada gajjam bhadram te yamunayastatam suchi punyam madhuvanam yatra sanityam nityada harer. Oh child, good fortune to you, bhadram te. Go to pure Madhuvana and on the bank of river Yamuna, where the Lord actually resides eternally. You go there. So Narada Muni, he's telling Dhruva to worship Lord Vishnu, who is so beautiful. And as a part of spiritual practice, he says, Dhruva, you should chant the holy names of Lord Vishnu. You should be meditating on the beautiful form of Lord Vishnu. And you should also make a small deity of Vishnu with mud, with whatever ingredients that are there in the forest. Collect those ingredients, put it together and make a small deity of Vishnu. By doing this, you will be able to get the darshan of the Lord. And he will give you benedictions. Whatever benediction you have, he will give you. So Narada Muni, he actually taught systematic process onto this 5-year-old boy. So he says, well, how you should worship? We should offer something to the Lord, right? He said, offer fruits, roots, berries, whatever that is there in the forest. And also, you do tulsi leaves, or do offer tulsi leaves. Tulsi leaves is very, very dear to Lord. The Lord loves the tulsi so much. And as we see, tulsi is available everywhere. And you should do this as a devotion to Lord Vishnu. Narada Muni, he recommended that. And as a result of that advice, Dhruva, he actually goes to Madhuvan forest, and on the banks of the river Yamuna, he starts to meditate on the holy names of Lord Vishnu, and he starts to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord and chants the holy names, and he's completely absorbed in the Lord. Narada Muni, he said in the forest, see, you will not get a marble deity, you will not get a golden deity, silver deity, whatever quality is available, whatever ingredients are available, use that to worship the Lord. So we can see that the process of bhakti is so universal, great and sublime that anyone with any kind of background should be able to worship the Lord. And after that, Narada Muni, he came to the palace of Uttanapada. See how nice of Narada Muni. He wants to be a well-wisher to everyone, and he comes and checks to the palace of Uttanapada, Dhruva Maharaj's father. And Uttanapada, earlier, we all know he was neglectful towards Suniti, he was neglectful towards Dhruva, and now Dhruva left the palace. Lot of events happened because of which he started to regret, he started to lament, he started to condemn himself. He was thinking, oh, how henpecked I was. Oh, how overly attached I was to Suruchi. I'm attached to my younger wife Suruchi that I was neglectful of my older one Suniti, who's a noble wife. And because of my undue attachment towards my wife Suruchi, I have committed a great offense towards Suniti and also her son Dhruva, and also my son Dhruva. So Uttanapada was very regretful. Although he could not respond properly when Dhruva Maharaj actually came to sit on his father's lap, now he's regretting. We all have a tendency to commit mistakes, right? Error is to human. And the tendency of an average human being is that we tend to justify our mistakes. Instead of admitting the mistakes, accepting the responsibility of the consequence of the mistake, what do? We justify the mistake. This is due to that person, that is due to that person. It is the circumstance that caused me. It is because of him this happened. So many blames here, there, everywhere. But what did we do? We won't accept that. Whenever somebody tries to say, this is something you need to rectify, we never tend to rectify our mistakes. But Uttanapada, we understand that he is a very honest person. He committed a mistake, but he did not justify that mistake. He admitted the mistake he had committed. He was regretful of it. He was not endeavoring not to repeat that mistake. So Narada Muni, he went to Uttanapada and asked him right there, why are you looking so morose? You seem to be so sad. What happened? Is your dharma, artha, kama going on okay? What is dharma? Dharma means whenever dharma is a king, whenever he rules, he is supposed to follow the prescribed duties, because and by following the prescribed duties according to Vedic injunctions, you are following dharmic activity. And as a result of the dharma, you get artha, that is money. And with that money, you can gratify your senses. Meaning whatever desires you have, you can use that money to indulge in that activity or desire. But again, we are having dharma here. Dharmically, you are performing an activity as a result of which artha and kama takes place. So this is what Narada Muni is asking to Dhruva. Narada Muni is asking to Uttanapada. Narada Vacha Rajan Kim Dhyayase Dirgam Kena Parishyushyata Kim Vanarishyati Kama Dharmo Vartena Samyutaha. Narada said, "Oh king, your face is looking so withered. Have you been contemplating for a long time? Have you been thinking about something? Or have you lost dharma, artha, kama? Is everything going on okay in your kingdom? What is going on?" Like that, Narada asked Uttanapada. Rajuvacha Sutome Balako Brahman Srenena Karunatmana Nirvashishta Panjavarshaha Sahamatra Mahan Kavihi. And what did the king respond to Narada? Oh Brahmana, oh Narada Muni, I was being merciless. I controlled my wife and I have banished my intelligent son Dhruva. He was just 5-year-old, along with his mother, Sahamatra. So this is what I did. And to that, and he also says, he's just expressing his lamentation. Here we can see that Uttanapada is regretting what mistake he had committed, and he's expressing his lamentation, which is what we are seeing in this section. Apyanatam vane brahman masmadanti advakam prika shrantam shayanam studitam pralimna mukambujam. Oh Brahmana, have the wolves stolen or eaten my unprotected boy? He's unprotected right now. He is not in a position where he has soldiers to take care of him, where he has people from the palace taking care of him. He's unprotected. He must be tired and hungry. He must be withered. He must be having a withered look. He should be laying down in the forest somewhere. I don't know what is the situation of Dhruva. I'm so worried about him. Aho me bhatadauratnyam sritijyasyopadharaya yonkam premnanurukshantam nabhyanandam asattamaha. I am controlled by a woman, Sri Jitasya. See my cruelty. Aho upadharaya me bhato dauratnyam. I did not welcome my son with love, premna, when he tried to climb on my lap. Ankam marurukshantam. I did not do any of these acts. So Uttanapada, he says to Narada Muni, you're such a great saintly person. What is not known to you, right? Actually, I was so neglectful towards my son Dhruva, and because of my neglect, because of my indifference, because of my harsh and cruel behavior towards my son left my home. I'm in great anxiety now. I don't know where he is, in which forest he is. So many ferocious animals are there in the forest and they may attack Dhruva at any point in time. I'm not sure if he is living, if he is dead. I don't know. I'm concerned about his well-being right now. And my wife Suniti, she was so chaste. She was such a noble lady. And because of my being henpecked and overly attached to my other wife Suruchi, I have become neglectful towards Suniti. So what am I supposed to do? I'm regretting now at this stage. I'm having a honest repentance. What am I supposed to do, Narada Muni? Please tell me, what am I supposed to do? Like that, Uttanapada expressed his lamentation to Narada Muni. So we all know people make mistakes. Best response to the situation is not to commit a mistake, right? It is the best thing. Nobody wants to wantingly commit a mistake. And the best thing is to not do a mistake. But if by mistake something happens, then one should be honest enough to accept that mistake. Uttanapada, although he did not do the first best thing of welcoming Dhruva on his lap when he came, he did the second best thing now. What is the second best thing he did? He was not justifying his mistake. He was admitting his mistake. He was willing to rectify his mistake. And he has a lot of affection for Dhruva now. He has changed. He has understood that being attached to his wife Suruchi was wrong on his part. He understood that sometimes mistakes are irreversible, right? We all know when we commit some mistakes, it cannot be undone. Mistake committed is mistake committed. Although Uttanapada came to his senses, he realized his mistake. Still Dhruva is out of the palace. Still Dhruva is in the forest. So sometimes we cannot undo the effects of the mistakes. So Uttanapada here is regretting, and Narada Muni, he started to encourage Uttanapada. Uttanapada, don't worry. It is all the divine will of the Lord. Your son Dhruva happened to leave home. You should understand that he is going to do an unimaginable task. He's going to do a task that nobody can imagine or conceive. This is what Narada Muni told to King Uttanapada. Narada Vacha Mama Chuchaswatanayam Devaguptam Vishampate Tat Prabhavam Avijnaya Pravrinte Yad Yasho Jagat. What did Narada say? Narada said, "Oh King Vishampate, your son is protected by the Lord. Swatanayam Devaguptam. He is living, though his greatness is yet unknown. Tat Prabhavam Avijnaya. His fame is going to spread the universe soon. Therefore, you should not worry, you should not lament, you should not get disturbed. His fame is going to glory, I mean, he's going to go far. Throughout this universe, his fame will spread. So don't worry or don't lament. So dushkaram karma kritva lokapalairapi prabhu ashyati achirato rajan yasho vipulayan stava. O king, after performing the tasks that are difficult even for the devatas, Dhruva is going to come back soon. He's going to return and he's going to spread the fame everywhere. So do not lament. Dushkaram karma kritva lokapalairapi prabhu. He's going to come back soon. He's going to bring you a lot of fame. So don't worry, don't lament. He's going to perform very, very difficult tasks. So Dhruva is going to do some inconceivable, unimaginable tasks. What is that task that he's going to perform? He is going to perform a task which is so difficult, and that task is to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu. It is a very difficult task. It is not easy to please the Lord, but Dhruva has a great determination. He is going to please the Lord in 6 months of time, although he was a 5-year-old boy. Dhruva is going to practice devotional service of bhakti with great determination, and he is going to please the Lord. He will become famous by his determination in devotion. And because of his determination, his father is going to become famous. Children are there. Whenever children do some fabulous things, the appreciation goes to parents for bringing them up so well. So here, Narada Muni is saying, you're going to become famous because of your son. Narada assured Uttanapada. He encouraged Uttanapada. And he started, and Uttanapada, because of this reason, he started to think about Dhruva very much. And he reduced his attachments to his younger wife, Suruchi, and he became quite balanced now. He became a very nice person. And he was waiting, when Dhruva is going to come back? When can I hug my little boy? And Narada Muni, he was being a very mature representative here. He guided Dhruva to the performance of devotional service or bhakti. And then he came back to Uttanapada and he reassured him, he encouraged him. And in this way, we can see he's acting as a well-wisher for everybody, right? He's being very nice to everybody. He's worried. He gave a path for Dhruva to follow. He now comes back to Uttanapada, inquires of the situation and gives a particular suitable advice to him. In this way, he's acting as a genuine well-wisher to everybody. So coming back to the situation of Dhruva, what did Dhruva do in the forest? We all know he went to Madhuvan and he started to worship the Lord. And what did he do there? He was asked to perform severe tapasya. So he did severe austerities. First, initially, he was subsisting on fruits. And then he subsisted only on water. Can you all imagine? He just took fruits. And then after some time, he left the fruits also. He was just subsisting only on water. And later, after that, he was inhaling the air. And that was his only food. And after that, he stopped all kinds of food. And then he was completely meditating, absorbed in the trance of Lord Vishnu. And at one point, he was standing with one leg on his toe, and he was completely absorbed in the meditation of the Lord. So when he was absorbed in meditation on the beautiful form of the Lord, so Narada Muni, he described the form of the Lord to him, and that form of the Lord was what Dhruva was meditating on. And after that, something unimaginable, inconceivable happened. And what was that? The Lord actually gave darshan to Dhruva. Very, very nice thing, right? So Lord is so kind and merciful that any person who performs bhakti with a great determination, see, like Dhruva, he did not see him to be a small child. Why should I reciprocate with a small child? But he gave darshan to Dhruva at such a young age. And he also gave it to him within a short span of time. But that doesn't mean, oh, can I practice bhakti for 6 months and get the darshan of the Lord? Look at Dhruva Maharaj's determination, right? Look at how he sincerely followed through the advice of Narada. Look at his severe austerities that he performed. So all this were the qualifications for Dhruva to get the darshan of the Lord. So Dhruva Maharaj has determined practice, his faith in the process of process that was laid out by Narada Muni. These all were the reasons, and his determined continued practice. He did not give up, and he followed the instructions very thoroughly. He had nothing in mind except bhakti. to the Lord, and he was completely meditating on the form of the Lord. So these were the qualifications for him to get the darshan of the Lord. And so we can see that Dhruva saw the form of the Lord now. And what did the Lord do? So there is also another quote from Bhagavad Gita, from chapter 2, verse number 41. Vyavasayatmika buddhirekeha kurunandana bahushaka hi anantasya buddhayo vyavasayinam. So what does this verse say? Vyavasayatmika buddhi. So it says one's buddhi has to be one-pointed. It has to be fixed. And ekeha kurunandana, in one place. And on the other hand, people whose intelligence is not fixed, it's in many places. It is here, it is there, it's doing so many things. So we have multitude of desires, right? And here Dhruva Maharaj's determination was one-pointed. And that is what Krishna advises. Your intelligence should be one-pointed and focused. And if that is there, then any kind of thing, whatever, even in the day-to-day life, if you're, say for example, you want to get into medicine, you are focusing on particular set of subjects and you try to focus on those subjects instead of, oh, let me do cricket here, let me do basketball here, let me focus on this subject. Whatever that is not relevant, you don't have to focus. You should have one-pointed determination and focus on things that is of importance and relevance. And that is what Dhruva did. And because of which he attained the darshan of the Lord. And this is what Bhagavad Gita also instructs us. We have to have this one-pointed attention. In Dhruva's case, we can see that there was a sense of purpose, there was a sense of urgency. Something must be done, something has to be done soon. And this determination and focus was one-pointed. He followed the instructions of Narada Muni very, very diligently. So he was now he happened to take the darshan of the Lord. But then he was in a very awkward position. So Vishnu actually noticed that Dhruva is feeling very awkward because he's not able to glorify the Lord. He's not able to say anything. See, the Lord is there and you have to sing some praise of the Lord, right? And Dhruva, he was kind of awestruck and he was in a very awkward position. See, I'm not even able to glorify the Lord. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to act? How am I supposed to speak? All that he did not know. So Vishnu, he noticed Dhruva had a sincere desire to glorify him. So what did Vishnu do? Vishnu, he took his conch shell and he touched on the head of Dhruva. And all the secret Vedic confidential subject matters were revealed by the process of touching of the conch shell of Vishnu in Dhruva Maharaj's head. And everything was revealed. All the secret of the Vedic injunctions was revealed in the heart of Dhruva. Dhruva says, so far my senses were all sleeping, my speech was sleeping, but you have awakened my power of speech and you gave it an ability to glorify, describe your glories. I'm able to speak only because of you. I'm able to glorify. Now Dhruva Maharaj starts to glorify the Lord. And he starts to glorify how the Lord is. My dear Lord, you're the abode of innumerable energies. You're all the potencies, they're all emanating from you. What you have done, you have enlivened my senses. You gave me the ability to glorify you. Otherwise, I'm not even in a position to glorify you. Not only you have enlivened me, you have enlivened my power of speech. You have awakened my other senses, my hands, my legs, my ears, the power of touch. All these senses, they're all enlivened by your grace. So Dhruva, he offered his prayers and Lord Vishnu, he started to, we're not going in depth with regards to the prayers because of the lack of time. And Lord Vishnu, he started to respond to him. He said, my dear Dhruva, I know what you wanted. I'm going to give you all the benedictions of whatever you wanted. You wanted to, you wanted to sit on your father's lap. You could not do so. So I'm going to give you the benediction of you ruling your father's kingdom for many number of years. 36,000 years you can rule your father's kingdom. And those years in the period of Satya Yuga, people were able to live up to 100,000 years. So Dhruva Maharaj ruling for such a long time is it's possible in that yuga. So now we are in Kali Yuga. So we are now talking about Dhruva in Satya Yuga. Okay. And after that, what Bhagavan says, what Lord Vishnu says is, I'm also giving you a Dhruva planet, a pole star So you can also get that because you wanted a position, something superior to that of Brahma. So I'm giving you that. And after that, I'm going to give you one more thing. You have not asked for it, but you can come to my abode after all this. So this is what is the benediction I'm going to give you, Dhruva. So be happy. And after saying this, Vishnu, after hearing the glorifications from Dhruva, the Lord Vishnu actually gave these benedictions to Dhruva. And this is the, so as you can see, Dhruva did not ask for the abode of Lord Vishnu, but then Lord, out of his mercy, he's able to give that special mercy to Dhruva. He said, okay, come back to my abode, Vaikuntha also. This is what I desire for you to do, and you should do that. So Lord is being so kind, and Lord is so merciful. He's the person who's worthy to take shelter of. This is what we learned from Dhruva Charitra. And there is more to this, of course, because of the lack of time. I'm not going through the further episodes of Dhruva Maharaj's Charitram. So just to kind of summarize, what did we learn? We talked about Uttanapada's dynasty. We first initially Swayambhu Manu was there. He had two sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapada, and Uttanapada's dynasty is what we reviewed. And then what we saw was Suruchi, he chastised Dhruva because Dhruva was going to sit on Uttanapada's lap. He did not like that, and she started to chastise Dhruva. Then we saw how Dhruva felt. What was Dhruva's reaction like? And then we saw Suniti was directing Dhruva to worship the Supreme Lord Vishnu. And then we saw Narada Muni, he was testing the determination of Dhruva. Oh, you're just a small boy, you should go home, play, enjoy, have fun in life. And Dhruva, he expressed his ambitious goal, and Narada, he instructs him on the process, how to attain it. Narada then meets and pacifies Uttanapada, King Uttanapada. Dhruva then performs severe austerities, and what were the effects of the severe austerities was something that we saw. And then Lord, he happened to give darshan to Dhruva and empowered Dhruva to speak. And then we saw Dhruva glorified the Lord. He gave prayers and hymns to the Lord. And Vishnu, he bestows the benedictions to Dhruva, and then finally he departs. So this is what we covered in today's class. And what I will do is, I will just share some slides where you can see some pictures of what we actually discussed in today's class, if that's okay. Just 1 minute, probably. It should just take you not more than 1 minute. Okay, let me try to share this presentation with you. Are you all able to see? Here, Dhruva in the forest. This is the picture of Dhruva in the forest. And here, Narada Muni, he touches the head of Dhruva. And then we see how Dhruva actually performs his austerities by focusing on the Lord Vishnu with his one leg on the toe, on top of his feet. And then Vishnu actually gives darshan to Dhruva. This is where we see how he's actually giving darshan, and how Dhruva Maharaj, he actually falls flat in front of Vishnu, like a stick. And then we see his Garuda carrier, Vishnu's Garuda carrier, and Dhruva. And his conch is also seen. I think it's very well seen in the next picture, where Dhruva was touched by the conch of Vishnu. So this is where Vishnu is touching Dhruva with his conch, and because of which Vedic literatures were revealed to Dhruva. So just wanted to give you the snapshot and the picture view so you can understand how the Lord was so merciful towards this kind devotee Dhruva. So with this, we will conclude today's presentation. And I wanted to say a few more things before I wrap up today's call. And let me just, first of all, I want to say Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Acharyas ki jai. Without our Acharyas, I'm nowhere. I'm just speaking whatever the Acharyas have told us. So I'm very, very grateful to all the Acharyas who are all helping all of us in the process of bhakti. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimad Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. And then my humble pranams to all the Vaishnavas who are all in the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhye vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So very important, because of you Vaishnavas, I was able to speak something that is of relevance on this topic of Dhruva Charitram. Kindly bless me and shower me with your love and affection so that I'm able to deliver and pass on the message of our acharyas to people who are not aware of this. So I inspire more and more people into bhakti. Please pray for me that I'm able to do that service. And I want to also specially thank Lakshmi Maniappan. She has been taking care of the technicalities of the Zoom, and I sincerely want to thank her for her dedicated service. The past 2 days, we were trying to just look into a lot of things as far as settings are concerned. And thanks to Chitra too, she and Lakshmi has been working on the technicalities on the Zoom side, making sure everything is seamless for all of us so that we can be able to enjoy this Dhruva Charitram in a much relishable fashion. And with this, I'm going to conclude my talk for today. And thank you, devotees, for helping me present this topic. And thank you for your patience. I know I went half an hour over. I couldn't stop because the pastime itself was so engrossing. And then I wanted to tell the part of the darshan of the Lord. And there is more to it. But at least I wanted to cover this much so that you're able to get the overview of what Dhruva Charitram actually entails. Thank you so much. And thanks to Seshadri also. He was also behind the scenes, helping with the technicality, so many other things. So he was there. And thank you so much, Sesh. I appreciate it. With this, I'm going to give this over to Chitra. So Chitra can proceed and talk about other formalities for this call. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Radhika, for the divinity-filled Dhruva Charitram. We enjoyed every bit of it, and I'm sure all our family members and all the others who have joined in too have had the same feeling. And I'm sure Raghu Mama and Revati Mami are proud parents to Radhika Kasturi as ever. Thanks to them. Thanks to all the people who have participated in this Zoom call and YouTube live. And I now request you people to maybe, if possible, if you're aware of the modality to raise hand option, you may do so and talk to Srimati Radhika Kasturi for any realizations or feedback, or you may unmute and talk also. So I don't know how it works. I think Srimati Lakshmi Maniappan would help us on that. About talking, would anyone like to talk or interact with the speaker? You may do so.
So Lakshmi Maniappan, you can make them all unmute, or you can have a raised hand option. Either ways, anything should work, whatever is convenient.
They're raising hands. We'll look into that.
Yeah, 2 people have already raised hands. Okay, fine. Let them do it. Thank you, Radhika, for the insightful journey of.
Oh, thank you, Chitra, for always encouraging and inspiring.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Radhika?
Yes, my dear friend, guide, mentor, everything.
It was such a beautiful session. Seriously. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You made my day by attending. I know it's so early in the morning for you. I know you're delivering another lecture at 8 a.m. our time, which is just not far off. But in spite of it, I'm so glad you were able to attend the lecture and give your feedback. I totally appreciate it, Ji. I totally appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Actually, it's time for me to appreciate your presentation. It was simply fabulous. The lessons, the structure, the verses, the explanation, insights, everything was mind-blowing. Thank you so much, Radhika. Fantastic session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Radhika.
Yes, Mohanana.
So I have a question, Radhika.
Yes, Anna.
Question see, at the end of the day, in the story, you have to be a devotee of Lord Perumal. Okay. So is that a necessity? Can I not be a devotee of Lord?
Can you not be
a devotee of Lord? Why should I be like Dhruva Maharaja? Why will the Lord bless me only if I'm a devotee? why will he not bless me if I'm an agnostic?
So
In Bhagavad Gita, there is a shlokam, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshostina priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maite teshu chapyam. In other words, he's saying, I'm equal to everyone. And then, of course, the second line, he says, I'm partial also to those, if you worship me, as you worship me, so shall I bless you.
Yatamam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham. So depending on your mood of surrender, the Lord rewards you whatever you want. Okay, if you don't go to the Lord, if you don't go to your Father and not express him what you want, why would he want to help you out? You don't ask him anything, right? Whatever you want, the Lord actually fulfills. Indirectly, if he is not a devotee, say for example, if he is a non-devotee, even for that, what happens? His karma works. Whatever he has done, accordingly, he reaps benefits through the process of karma. So either ways, he is taken care of. I mean, he doesn't want to have a relationship with the Lord because he wants to enjoy on his own. He wants to do anything, whatever he feels like doing, he wants to do. That is why he doesn't want to be a devotee, right? He wants to do, and Lord will wait. Okay, I am there in your heart as super soul. Whenever you want, you come to me. I will wait for that time. When are you going to turn towards me and come and say, oh, I'm here for you always. You just have to turn and look back and say and acknowledge that. So he is going to wait for you. He's not going to force you. He's going to give you that independence and free will. Until the time, he's just going to patiently be there waiting for you when you will actually turn towards him. So this is what is the merciful nature of the Lord. He whatever, depending on your mood of surrender, I will reward whatever you want accordingly. You ask liberation, okay, I give you liberation. You want to go to Surga, okay, no problem. You get Surga, but you have to put in the endeavor for that. Whatever endeavor is required, you have to do that. And when that endeavor is fulfilled, and when Lord sees that endeavor, he would then acknowledge. We can't force him. Oh, I did so much. Why is Lord not acknowledging? No, we can't say that. This process of bhakti needs faith. If anything, see, an atheistic, he's also having faith that there's no God, right? Anything in this movement requires faith, and we need to acknowledge that faith. The more the faith, the more we will do something in bhakti, and more we will work towards the Lord. So that is the understanding through Dhruva. I mean, later after this pastime, if you look at it, Dhruva starts to regret. Oh, I asked material benedictions to Lord. I'm so mean that way. I shouldn't have asked for anything material. I should have asked Lord that I should be with the devotees. I should be in the devotee association. That is what I should have asked for. But, look at me, poor me. I'm just here. I asked for something really, it's a broken piece of glass that I had asked for. When I can see diamond in front of me, I asked for a broken piece of glass. This is definitely wrong. He regrets for that attitude later. I hope that answered the question, Mohanana. I'm not able to hear him. Maybe he's unmute. I mean, he's mute.
Presentation was very nice.
Oh, thank you, Mihika.
Yeah, I'm now able to unmute, Radhika. Very good answer. One more idea, joined to that. Instead of Bhakti Yoga, I can choose just Karma Yoga. I don't need Bhakti Yoga. Or do I need that also?
You can do your karma. See, the karma actually follows through Varna Ashrama. So karma, the prescribed duties are laid out in the Varna, right? I mean, if you're a Brahmana, you are supposed to do this. As a Kshatriya, you're supposed to do this. As a Vaishya, you're supposed to do this. And as a Shudra, you're supposed to do this. You follow through the Vedic injunctions. You have to follow through your prescribed duties according to the Vedic injunctions. And see, there is three things: akarma, vikarma, and karma. Karma is when you do your duty following the prescribed injunctions. Akarma is something that you do, but you do not follow the Vedic injunctions, which means this is bad. Akarma is bad. And vikarma, that is, first is karma, where you follow through your duty following the Vedic injunctions. Vikarma is something you don't follow the Vedic injunctions, but you do the duty in a whimsical way. And third thing is akarma, where you do not enjoy or ask for the fruits from the Lord. You just perform the duty to please the Lord. This is akarma. It does not involve papa or punya. So when you actually do it with a mindset that you want to please the Lord, you want to do this for the Lord, when you dedicate the activity to the Lord with detachment to work, that is what is karma yoga, right? You're connecting that to the Lord, because at the end of the day, you are detached from the results. How can you be detached to the results? All of us hanker, when is our salary going to come into our pocket, right? It's very hard to get ourselves detached from the fruits. Oh, I'm doing this act. Why are people not appreciating me? So there is always an expectation for result. But when you are in the mood of having that detached mindset where you do the work, but you're not worried about the result, or you do not hanker for the result, and you dedicate the results to Krishna or Vishnu, that is karma yoga, connecting that work to Lord. A more superior case is performing work itself for the Lord. You're not even doing, you're performing work itself for the Lord means you are working in the temple, you're doing everything for the Lord. That is the step above karma. I mean, the sense, the activity itself is dedicated to the Lord. So in any aspect for that matter, the Lord always is there. Bhakti cannot be separated from yoga. Yoga means to connect to the Lord. So without bhakti, none of the other process can work. Anything. Meditation also needs bhakti component. Your karma also needs bhakti component. Without bhakti, we cannot perform. There will be no connection to the Lord. Hope that helps, Nomanana.
Radhika,
yes.
super presentation.
Oh, thank you, Chimichiti. Thank you for your
Very
blessings.
nice. Very nice, Kanna. Keep it up. Keep it up.
Thank you. Yes, Smriti. I can unmute you. Wait 1 second. Hope you're able to, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Radhika, very, very nice presentation. Really loved it. Thoroughly researched, you've really taken a lot of effort. You can see it, thoroughly researched. Very, very thought-provoking lessons. Explained in a very simple manner, but very understandable and absorbing. So very nicely enjoyed the Dhruva Charitram, and pray Perumal gives you more and more such opportunities to glorify the devotees and also engage us in the devotional service. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Priti. You're always my inspiration, and you're always there for me at any time. So I can't ask for more. I can ask anything, because being in the Folsom area, you're such a big support to not only me, my parents, and everybody else. They all love you so much, and you're all so nice. I mean, we're also indebted to you for your association. Thank you. Varun? Yes, Varun. Did you want to say something? Yeah, he did. Yeah. Varun, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask why did Uttanapad favor Sruchi instead of Suniti when he's married to both of them?
Yeah, sometimes people have this kind of attitudes. They may be favorable, partial towards one person. This all comes to us because we are the why anger, why jealousy, why this, why that, why are we having bad qualities? It is there from so many births, Varun. We can't do anything about it. It is there for a long, long, long time. And what we have to do is sincerely pray to Lord Vishnu so that all these type of mentalities, mean mentalities, goes away from us.
Radhika,
Okay.
is this Itihasa or is this a Purana?
This is Purana, Mahapuran. This is Amala Puran. It is the transcendental literature by Veda Vyas. Actually, Narada Muni, Veda Vyas, he composed Mahabharata. He did so much writing, research work and all that. Still, he was not at all satisfied. And then Narada Muni came and told him, oh, you have to compose something on the devotional service or the bhakti aspect of the Lord. Because whatever that is there in Bhagavad Gita, it is, Bhagavatam actually portrays how a devotee should act in such a situation. If this situation comes, how will a devotee act? That is something that is portrayed in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Amala Puran. And so we have this transcendental literature, which is spoken by Vyasadeva for that reason, because he was feeling so dissatisfied that he did not glorify Lord Vishnu more or Lord Krishna more. And that is the reason this writing was done, just to make that happen. Any further questions, comments, realizations, feedback? I don't see any raised hand. So, Perima, anything that you wanted to say, Perima? Perima is on unmute. I mean, mute, I think. She's saying something, but I'm not able to hear. Perima, you have to unmute.
Unmuted.
Yeah.
Asirvadam, I'm so எனக்கு ரொம்ப 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 பெருமையா இருக்குது. You continue to do the same. I will join you later.
Okay, thank you, Perima. Thank you for your
ரொம்ப
blessings.
சந்தோஷமா இருக்கு. காலங்காலத்தால பெருமாள் சமாச்சாரம் எனக்கு பாகவதமே தெரியாது. அது ஒண்ணுதான் தெரியாது இருந்தது. உன் மூலியமா தெரிஞ்சுக்கணும்னு பெருமாள் அனுகிரகம் எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஆசீர்வாதம் கண்ணு.
Thank you so much, Perima. I totally appreciate it, Perima.
சந்தோஷம் கண்ணு.
Hare Krishna, Radhika.
Hare Krishna.
Na Sharanya.
Oh, Sharanya, Cholunga Sharanya. Thank you so much, Sharanya.
A beautiful narration on Dhruva Charitra and with very good moral lessons. Like, I'm totally impressed by your speech.
Oh, thank you so much, Sharanya, for always being there and supporting me and involving me in so many other sevas. So totally appreciate all your things.
That too with like beautiful quotes from the Sanskrit verses. Like, looking forward to hear more.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Rama.
Radhika?
Yes.
This is
Balanti, so much Balanti for being
so
there
proud.
on the call and
so proud of you, Radhika.
Oh.
I would love to just keep listening to you forever. You were so good. Thank you very much for
this
sharing
means
this upanyasam with me. And please continue in this path. I'm very, very, very proud of you. Take care.
Means a lot to me, Balanti. I think you've always been there. At all, we came to meet you and Vardhan Mama. So, but yeah, I really for each and every important occasion you're there, and your support always means a lot to us. Thank you for your inspiration. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care, Ma. Kanna. Do well.
Thank you, Balanti.
Hello, Radhika. This is Sangeeta.
Oh, hi, Sangeeta Mataji. How are you?
Hare Krishna. I'm so happy that you asked me to join this speech. Oh my gosh, it is so amazing. Your narration, your speech, your explanation is so good. I thoroughly enjoyed from the start to finish. Even the answers that you provided was so good. I would be ready to, hear this kind of a speech every week from you. You are so good. I'm so happy that I could listen every word that you spoke today. And I think even though we heard this so many times in our Gita class, but today the way you explained it, such a nice.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta ji, for inspiration. And you are such a sweetheart. You are always there at all points in time for all the occasions that we host. And you are very, very humble and nice, and always look at the good things in life and let us know that. So totally appreciate that, Sangeeta ji, from you. And so sweet of you to have joined at this hour, because it is 6 a.m. I know it's so hard. for us to even wake up at this time, but you made it happen. So I'm really indebted to you for that. And devotees, I just want to make one thing. Whatever I say, it's just glorification. Acharyas have to be glorified. I'm insignificant and I'm just a tool for communicating the message of our acharyas. So if I've spoken something that is of relevance to you, that is all glories to our acharyas for that. And I want the Guru Vargas to take credit on that. And I humbly submit in front of all of you to pass on the credits that I have to them, because I don't deserve any of those. Thank you so much, but again, for your kindness and your mercy. It means a lot to me. I think yeah.
She has a raised hand.
Oh, yes. Yes, I can lower. I mean, I can. Yeah, we can unmute. I can unmute her. You can unmute, ma'am. So, Lakshmi, can you unmute her?
I can only request her to unmute. She has to
Yeah,
unmute
I also, ma'am.
Actually, இப்போ பண்ண முடிஞ்சதுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன். Very nice, Radhika. It's such a good surprise that இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு beautiful உபன்யாசம் கிடைச்சது. I never expected உபன்யாசம் will happen. It's so beautiful. என்னை இங்கிலீஷ் சம்ஸ்கிருதம் ரெண்டும் கலந்து எல்லாருக்கும் மெசேஜ் கிடைக்கிற மாதிரி எல்லா கேரக்டர்ஸ்ல இருந்தும் மோரல் இருக்கிற மாதிரி கோட் பண்ணது ரொம்பவே நல்லா இருந்தது. வெரி நைஸ். more and more I'm looking forward to.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am. And Amudha ma'am is Aditya's singing teacher. We've been with her for so many years now. I think Aditya, when child irundadhilende ava part class ku ponona ma'am da, and she's more like a sister to me. Thank you, ma'am, for your kind encouragement and words. I totally appreciate it. And really enala paada mudiyadu, romba try panna adu kuda, but complete failure. Anyway, so
don't say that. Romba speech romba nalla irundhu, armiya irundhu. So not necessarily everybody has to sing. Ellarkum or talent Perumal kuduthirukar. So
sure, ma'am. Thank you for your kind words, ma'am. Totally appreciate it.
Dhanyawad.